That emotional video there shows a California man hugging his daughters and sobbing as he was reunited with them after spending nearly 8 years in prison. Corvain Cooper was sentenced to life in prison for nonviolent marijuana charges back in 2014. But in his final hours in office, President Trump granted him and 142 other people clemency. National correspondent Drika Duncan spoke with Cooper in his first interview since his release.
I'm serving a life sentence for marijuana, money laundering, and tax evasion for nonviolent crime.
That's the voice of Corvain Cooper from a maximum security prison. The 41-year-old was featured in the 2020 BET documentary Smoke, Marijuana and Black America.
Hey, congratulations, welcome home, brother.
This is Corvain Cooper now, free, at home, finally able to hug his 15 and 11-year-old daughters.
I seen my daughters, and I finally got to tell them, I'm sorry. Your dad's sorry. I had chose the wrong road in trying to provide for you guys, and it took me away from you guys. Sorry for missing everything that I've missed.
It wasn't just you that was serving time. Your family served this time.
Right.
Your daughters served this time.
The pain that I have caused on my kids and on my dad and on my mom and on my family and all my loved ones, and the pain that I caused on myself.
It's been a long 8 years for Cooper and his family. When he was arrested in 2013, Cooper says he hadn't sold marijuana in at least 4 years.
I had a clothing store that it was like a boutique that was called SC Clothing, named after my kids, Scotland and Clear. I had their faces on the side of the wall.
He was convicted for his involvement in trafficking marijuana from California to North Carolina and sentenced under the now widely criticized 1994 federal crime bill's 3 strikes rule. Because Cooper had 2 previous nonviolent convictions, he received life without parole for his 3rd conviction. Those 2 previous convictions were later vacated.
I'm watching rapists get out, and my brother was in prison facing life without the possibility of parole. Things have changed. You know what I mean? And he's not there all because of marijuana. And then it's legal here, so it makes it even worse.
Change came to California when cannabis was legalized in 2017.
My kids have to roll by every day while living in California, and they have to see more dispensaries than they can even see liquor stores. The clothing store that I built from the ground up with my kids' face on it, had all events and everything, and finally to try to make my dream come true, turned just a dispensary to change the clothing store into a weed store.
While the nation has been decriminalizing marijuana possession and its use over the last decade, relief for Cooper didn't come until the last day of Donald Trump's presidency, when he granted Cooper and at least 11 others like him clemency.
So I'm in a cell for about an hour, and then they come to the door and say, pack it up, you got 5 minutes to get out of here. You just got to immediately release. And I just break down.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. I made my first call, and I called my mom, and she said, I'm crying uncontrollably, but she says, what are you crying for? Ivanka Trump called me at 12:30 and said that you're coming home.
A homecoming for a father trying to make up for what he missed with his daughters Clear in Scotland.
It's like to have my dad home, it's like a relief. Like, it's like when he was in jail, it's like I was missing a part of him. It's like a piece of me is back.
It was like memories lost. Like, I would see my friends have their dad there and they would pick them up, and I didn't have that memory with my dad.
A dad determined to set an example by growing a message of hope.
How do you save someone like yourself at that time?
First thing I'm going to tell them is they get to see the results. They get to see what actually happened to me. I got a life sentence. I'm going to show them the stuff that they're chasing. It's all fool's gold.
Cooper started a website selling clothing and also advocating for companies that legally sell marijuana. He said that the BET documentary Smoke, Marijuana in Black America, was pivotal in raising awareness about his story and many others. And we should note that BET is a division of Viacom CBS. Tony?
It's a powerful story, Drika. Thank you very much. What I think people really need to take away from this is that the issue is mandatory minimum sentences.
Yes.
It ties the judge's hands. In my own case, my own father, as I've talked about before, sold tons of marijuana, but did so just before the mandatory minimum. So when he got caught, also by the feds, he got less than 3 years, not life.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
It shows the inequities. That's why that documentary is very powerful. It'll have you scratching your head and screaming at the same time, like, how is this possible? Especially when you hear stories like your dad.
Judges don't want to look at judges want to be able to look at a case and make a decision based on the facts before them. Mandatory minimums tie judges' hands, and that's what needs to be looked at.
It's absurd, but you're so happy for Scotland and Clear.
So happy.
Yes, because it tied hands for a lot of men of color.
And there are more. And there are more.
There are more.
There are more. It's not over now.